Hello again. Yeah, we are back. We are back. Finally. Okay, so with a slightly smaller display, but let's keep going. This time it worked, and of course, I'm Max, as I've told you. I have been a web developer for some years. I have spoken already in CFCamp a long time ago. I feel very old. I've been married since then, and we have 2 cute dogs that you can see on the right. I've been told that many of you also have dogs, so I'm sure you appreciate the picture. So let's talk about Cypress, finally. Okay, so what is Cypress? As I've said earlier, those of you who have seen Nolan's talk already know, but of course I'll explain anyway. What is Cypress? Cypress is, in the end, a front-end testing framework. So what does this mean? Let's just break it down. We want to look at the front end. So we want to look just at a website or websites. And we want to look at a website like a user looks at a website. So a user visits your website, a user has a browser and browses to your website and does stuff on it and interacts with your site. And this is what we want to look at. So we want to test the front end. So we have use cases. We want to imagine, okay, a user will want to do stuff on your website. You know, it can be very simple stuff. It can get very, very complicated, but you know, simple stuff like log in on your web page, or you know, watch a video or something. And with testing, we make assertions. So basically, we say if A, then B. So if a user clicks on a button, then something should happen. If a user visits the home page, then the company logo should be visible. We have rules and we have assertions that we want to check. And if one of those assertions fails, if something does not happen as we expect it to, we want the program to show errors that we can see, and so that we can fix these errors and make our website better and more usable for our users and for us, of course. And Cypress, in the end, is also a bit of a framework because it is a JavaScript-based framework, so the code is in JavaScript, and Cypress has several testing methods that we can use in the JavaScript code to, test the websites. It is also a whole application that you can download to do all that. Cypress helps with writing tests and running tests, and in the end, you can also use it to do semi-automated testing. And of course, those who have seen Nolan's talk already know about that a bit. Okay, so Cypress, what are the things that Cypress can do? The most important one is E2E testing, which is the classic front-end testing, as I'd like to call it. You know, Cypress can start a browser. It can go through our testing code and perform the actions that we tell it to do, and via the browser it has started. For example, it can visit your website and do something with it that you have specified. There's also a part of Cypress that is component testing, so it can not only test whole sites, whole pages, but also JavaScript framework components for different JavaScript frameworks that are out there. But I will not cover those because I have just frankly no experience with those. And end-to-end testing is what I have researched. Also, Cypress has some tools. For example, there are Docker images that you can use, very official Docker images with dependencies included, and some of them come with browsers included, and makes it really easy for you to get going with Cypress, which is nice. Also, there's a tool called Cypress Cloud that you can use and you can sign up for. In the Cypress Cloud, you can upload testing data that you collect during your testing. You can see statistics then in the Cypress Cloud and also connect that with CI. So, you know, GitHub and other tools. Okay, so what if you want to actually install Cypress? There are 2 basic methods to do that. The first one is there's a standalone app that you can just download. It is a big zip file. You just download the zip file, extract it in some directory that you want to have. And a standalone app is pretty great because it's always the newest version of Cypress, so it has all the newest features. Everything is in there that you need, which is awesome. And this method is preferred if you want to have a quick start into Cypress. So it's really, really easy to download. There's already some tests that show you what you can do with it, and you can just start writing tests for your own, and it's really, really easy to get going. And this has a pretty good user interface that guides you through the process. The other method to install Cypress is via npm package. So it is a classic npm install like you do with many other tools. And you know the drill, an npm install. You can, with this method, of course, you can specify the version you want to use. Perhaps you don't want the current version of Cypress, but an older one because it has, other features or old features you still want to use. And it's also kind of the advanced method of installing Cypress because then, of course, you have the whole npm command line, and you can, automate it more. I guess I could say. So it's more scriptable. Okay, and so now we have downloaded Cypress, and the next step is to actually write tests. So how do these look like? Again, those who have seen Nolan's talk already know, and and as he has said, it's kind of a established syntax that you see in many other testing tools too. So we have a description up here for the whole test suite that's in here. You have the test with the it blocks under there. Here's test 1, here's test 2. And you also have a before each statement, for example, that you can use where you can put code that gets executed before each test is run. So in this case, it's pretty readable. In this case, before each of the tests down here, the Cypress browser will visit the page example.com and then do this in the first test. And then when test 2 comes around, it will again visit example.com and the stuff you specify down here in test 2. So it's pretty great. And there are some basic stuff you have to know about Cypress. So for example, there's a Cypress base object which is called cy that you can see here, cy.cy.cy. This is the Cypress base object, which pretty much acts as a base object that you can just chain commands off of. And so there are commands after that like visit a page, get an element, get another element, and look and see if it is visible, get for example, a button and click it. It is really, if you write it like that, or Cypress makes it so that you can write it like that, and it makes the test really, really self-explanatory at times. Also, especially if your CSS selectors on your page are well done. Yeah, so that's the basic syntax. And you will see a bit more of it later in the demo, so let's go to the next slide. So yeah, there are some basic functions that Cypress provides for you, and these all fall under different categories. One category is element selection. So with Cypress, there are methods that you can use to select elements on a web page. Like get is the most basic one. You can get an element or elements with some CSS selector you can specify. With contains, you can select an element that contains a text, like the text foobar in here, for example, in this one. Or there's also a tree traversal that with classic CSS or JavaScript. For example, if you already have an element and you say element.parent, it just selects the parent element of the one you selected, which is pretty as you would expect it. And of course, there are other ones that don't all fit on the page, like children, siblings, the stuff. So it's pretty easy to get around. The next category is interaction with the site and the elements of the site. So in fact, for example, as you have seen, we can visit a page with the visit method. There's also things like we can wait for a specified amount of time, which can be useful if stuff just keeps loading and if some stuff keeps loading and you need the stuff to be finished before you test it further. You can select an element and click it via the click statement. You can select an element and type something in it. Of course, that should be an input element. Otherwise, it must, of course, be an element that you can actually write something in. So typically an input element. And then, of course, there are the tests or assertions. The classic Cypress command for that is the keyword should, or the method should. And the method should takes many tests that you can write in it. For example, some basic ones are should be visible, which just says, okay, the element should be somewhere visible on the site that you are on right now. Or you can say an element should have class active, for example, down here. So when you have an element, Cypress can also check if it has an active class. Yeah, and there are many more. So also, there's no room for all of these, and you can all read them in the docs. And there's other syntax that works for assertions, like the expect something to something syntax. And I still have the if you have been in this room for some time, you have seen the view and inertia talk earlier today and the testing talk from Nolan. And in there you also saw the syntax, so it's a pretty universal syntax that you can use in Cypress too. And another great thing with Cypress is that you can define custom commands. So there are commands that come with Cypress, but if you want to do your own command or create your own command, then you are free to do so. You can specify some stuff for your own. And these can be very useful, for example, if you want to have a method to log into your web page, because there are many things that you would like to check. Probably if a user is logged in and does something while logged in, then you don't want to write the whole login procedure at the start of every test for the login. So you can create a custom command for login and then just call that, and before every test that you want to do logged in. Okay, so now there was a lot of theory, but like with many things, it is really good to see them in action. And so let's have a quick demo. Yeah, let's see. Okay, this is okay. Now this is interesting with the 720p resolution. Okay, it's already been quite big before, but let's see. Okay, so okay, so when you want to install Cypress, you of course just go to the official web page, which is cypress.io, and it is huge, of course, with the 720p resolution, but here it is. And you can see, okay, it looks different when with the bigger resolution, but no problem. So here's the Cypress app. If you click this, you can already see how it looks, and we will see it later. But what I want to do is the download. Where's the download? Oh, no, this is not the download. Interesting design choice. I can't find the download link for the actual Cypress product, for the actual Cypress app. Maybe they should look at that and let's see, installing Cypress. No, that goes to the docs. You see there's already something that the Cypress team itself can test, have a lower resolution and look for the download link. It is not easily accessible, which they could fix. But anyway, I've told you, and I guess you have to trust me that when you have the full web page, there's a download link for the whole app. As I told you, there's a big zip that you can download. And if you extract this zip, then it already makes a big, it guides you through a process and scaffolds some things for you. So this whole thing here I have scaffolded from the official app installer. And as you can see, Cypress has already generated some scripts, some examples for me. Here it already did a getting started test suite that we can have a look at, which already gives you some idea of what you can do with Cypress. There's also some advanced examples. So if you have any questions or wonder how you can check for cookies, for example, there's a sample test suite for cookies. If you wonder how you can check for the viewport, there's a test for that, and so on and so on. Navigation. So if you're new to Cypress, just download the app. I would do that at first, and you can already use these examples that Cypress provides you to start writing your own. And so, of course, I also wrote my own, of course, which, I mean, we are on CFCamp, and so I have written some for CFCamp myself. Let's see. So here again, we have a before each method. And before each test, I want to visit the CFCamp main homepage. And don't worry, I asked Michi beforehand. He said I could test the site, so it's all fine. There's no breach of security or anything. He was totally fine with me testing the page. So we can visit the page here. Here, this is just to click away the cookie banner that, of course, is everywhere here on our sites. And I have two basic tests. One is to check the session page that you can see on the CFCamp website. And of course, look for my session in it, which, of course, I mean, why not? And also the second test is check the speaker page. So again, let's see the speakers of the conference, and then also check for myself, because I mean, it's my test, I can do that. Nobody can tell me otherwise, which is great. Okay, and I mean, what Michi himself said when he looked at my code is, oh, Max, that's great, I can look at that code and I can pretty much guess what it does. It's really, really, like I said before, it can be really, really self-explanatory. So for the session page, I mean, we looked for the navigation, which is here the navigation links. We click the one that says sessions, of course, so we get on the session page, and then we go through the items on the page and look for one that contains the title of my talk, Frontend Testing with Cypress.io. We say, okay, this one should be visible because it's my talk. It should be on the page. We scroll to it so that we can view it in the browser, and then we click it. And then after we've clicked it, so of course it should bring out the page about my session, and then when we check my session page, the headline of it should of course read again Frontend Testing with Cypress.io, because that's the title of my talk. So you can see how it's really, really easy to read and really, really easy to write, especially if if you have descriptive classes and IDs for your elements. So that makes it really, really great to test. But so to actually show you Cypress now, I have downloaded it here in my downloads folder. I have extracted it here to a Cypress folder. We can have a quick look. So it comes with some stuff, as you would imagine. And so we can now start Cypress. It's just a normal binary. We can start it by just like any normal binary. And here it is. So this is how it looks. Like I said, those who have seen Nolan's talk know this. I have already created a project for CFCamp with our tests in it. I can click this, and there's, like I said before, there's component testing. I won't have a look at it because, as I have said, it's not my specialty. but E2E testing is the thing we want to have a look at. So let's click this. We can choose which browser Cypress should use, which is also interesting. And I usually go with my favorite browser, Firefox, because obviously Firefox is the best browser out there. And let's just start testing in Firefox. After we click it, you can see Cypress definitely has opened a Firefox instance, as you can see by the logo up here. And Cypress tells us, okay, look here are all the tests we have in this folder. Look at all the tests. Okay, so here's my CFCamp tests, and I showed you the check me test, so let's just run it. And to do that, you just click it, which is pretty awesome. Okay, so, this is, okay, let's see if we can, yeah. Okay, let's rerun this. So have a look on the right here is again the embedded browser, or the actual browser page that we want to see. And here on the left, you can see what I want to check with my test. So I showed you we want to check the session page, and we want to check the speaker page. So let's run it again. Here. And on the right, you can see Cypress does it all by itself. It's of course really quick because it's a program. It's not me. It's not a human. So it goes through it pretty quickly. But the great thing is, we can, after it is finished, just go through it one by one by just hovering over the different bullet points, and we can actually see what Cypress has done, which is awesome. And we always have a screenshot for each step that Cypress does, which is great. So let's just go through one of these tests really quickly. So here the before each method triggers, and we visit the CFCamp web page, which is okay. Cypress shows the bottom part of the page, but okay, no problem. Then you see here the cookie banner is crossing from the left, and we click the element for the that says I accept the cookies. Okay, that worked better when I tested it, but you will have to trust me. So we click the cookie banner away, then wait so that the cookie banner does its thing. And if we scroll down, we then get to the actual test for the sessions. So, like I said before, we visit the navigation. We get all the links in the navigation, and here you can see. I mean, it's you can see here on the right, all the links are highlighted by Cypress. So Cypress tells you, see here, with this selector, I got 7 links. And it shows it on the right by highlighting them. Now we look at the link that contains the sessions wording. So you can see on the right, only one of them is highlighted, the sessions one. We click it, which was the next method. And you can see also, I mean, you can see the red point on the link. So this is Cypress telling us, okay, I'm clicking on this link now. After that, of course, the session page loads, and yes, we see all the sessions here, and we get all the items on the session page. We look for the one containing the title of my talk, and Cypress has found it. And now for a check, we have an assertion that the session with my title talk should be visible, and indeed it is. So that's why it's green. It worked. So scroll interview is more for us than for Cypress itself, because now if we scroll it here, then we are guaranteed that now here in this view we can actually see the element. And then also, then again we click it. So again you can see the red point up there on the title link. So Cypress clicks it, and another page loads with my talk. And indeed, the headline does read Frontend Testing with Cypress.io, just like I told him it would, and it does, which is great. Yeah, and this is, as you can see, it was really easy to set up. This took like 5 minutes. and another 5 minutes to do the test with a session, and another 5 minutes for this. It's really easy, and really you can really do this very quickly. Let's see, we have 5 don't have that much. 10 minutes, okay. Then let's see. Okay, I guess we can. Okay, I also have one for user interaction, because right now we just click something on the page, and also to show you kind of the pitfalls, or also show you how it looks when there's an error. I have another test with interaction for the CFCamp web page. And let's see what can happen if you're not that careful, or what happens when you are not that specific with your tests. So we'll go back here. Oh, I'll close that. Okay. And now let's see the interaction test. So like I said, I created another test suite for more interaction with the CFCamp web page. And yeah, we can see here there is an error. So to just briefly show you what I wanted to do here. So again, we will visit the web page. You know the drill by now. We click away the cookie banner by clicking the button from the cookie banner. Then what I wanted to do here is just search something on the web page. So as you can see on the top right on the CFCamp page, there's an icon for search, as we all know it. And I just wanted to click that so that I can search something on the site. And what's tricky sometimes is if the CSS selectors you use are not specific enough, because as you can see here, what I wanted to get as an element is in the main navigation. There is an element with the class JS toggle main navigation search, which is pretty self-explanatory again. So this toggles the search, or should toggle the search. But what we can here see with Cypress also is that it didn't match just one element, but 3, because one of them is hidden and one of them is something else I can't really remember. And for example, if you now try to click on that, Cypress of course says, well, gee, I found 3 elements. Which one of them would you like me to click on? This is really confusing for Cypress, of course. So this is one example for how also Cypress forces you to be specific in many cases, but it also, I see it as it also helps you to understand your website, and you just have to watch out for some things. It's not always that easy in the end. What's also great is that I just shortly want to also demonstrate the Cypress Cloud, because Nolan, for example, didn't get to that part. He had many other things to talk about. So of course, there was a lot of other stuff. And for that, I show you. Let's just, like I told you, especially if you install Cypress via npm, you can also run the test via npm. And here you have npx Cypress run that you can use. So this will run every test in your directory. So not just one that you click on, but every test that Cypress finds. And the other stuff after Cypress run is for the Cypress Cloud. So the first parameter is record, which indeed records the testing session, which we will have a look at. And the key is for the Cypress Cloud, so the cloud that I set up for myself. So let's just briefly hit this and look what it does. So you can see here, this is the headless version because we are running it via npm, and the tests are done via headless browsers by Cypress, and you can also here see how Cypress goes through all the tests. And again, the interaction one should fail because, as we saw, there are 3 elements that cannot all be clicked at once. So that should fail. And okay, there it is. At least on my monitor there. Okay. Right, here it is. It has finished. So the basic to-do method, my CFCamp test, and the last one failed. Of course, like I expected it to. And the great thing about the cloud now is that I recorded the session, and indeed, if we look at the cloud, let's reload that. So I'm now on cloudcypress.io. It's really easy to set up. This is my project here, and that's connected to my code. And you can see here I've already run my test several times, and they all went fine. So these are all green. But now I made an error, so it's red this time. But this is the one that interests us because we ran it just now. And you can see you can just have a look at it pretty nicely. You can also see the error that Cypress encountered. So after you let it run and you grab a cup of coffee, you go back, you see, oh, there was an error, and just sign into the cloud, click on the error page, and Cypress tells you what the error was that it encountered. And you can have a look at the test results one by one, and you can see here that the interaction one failed, just like we saw there. And also, perhaps if we still have a minute, or if I can actually find it. Okay, so here I can also see the console output, but there's also even video output. And yes, Cypress, via the record parameter that I showed you earlier in the command line, Cypress does indeed record video if you tell it to, which is awesome. You just let it run and just have a look at the videos afterwards, and you can just look what Cypress did in the videos, and you don't even have to be at your workplace at that time. Just have a look at it afterwards. So maybe we can have a look at that quickly. Let's see. No, workspace, CFCamp, Cypress. Videos, here it is. And there are actual MP4s, and yeah, perhaps we can just open this one for a minute. And voila, you can see what Cypress did with my test, which is great. I mean, just you can put this on your playlist, or just watch it when you have time, and then, okay, this went wrong, I'll have to check all of that. Okay, so now there's not much time left, so back to the presentation. Okay, so that was the demo part. So now for a quick review for the last few minutes. So these are my subjective pros and cons for using Cypress. And just a big disclaimer, I'm a huge proponent for Cypress. I really love Cypress. As I hope I have showed you, there are many pros. I think one pro is that it's really quickly installed, especially with the app that you can just download and run, and have Cypress just lay out everything that you can do with it, and have example testing that you can write your own best taste on, write your own tests based on those. So yeah, the test writing is really easy. It's all in JavaScript, so the syntax is not that complicated for us web developers especially. It can be run headless via NPM. There's a UI with the app that you can use. You can select elements with just one-of-the-mill normal CSS selectors, like you would with CSS. And because it's a front-end testing tool that just starts a browser, it really doesn't matter what your website that you test, what tech stack it uses on the back end, because I mean it can be a React page, it can be a Angular page, it can use Cold Fusion, it can use PHP. It doesn't really matter. Just Cypress uses a browser. It looks at your site. It clicks stuff. It looks if things are there, and that's it. And that's good. It is really, really well maintained. Cypress always comes out with new versions. The documentation is awesome. I haven't shown you the page, but now I don't have time anymore, but the documentation is really, 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 really great. I mean, I randomly encounter tools that have good documentation, but Cypress does have really, really good documentation. If you ever get stuck, if you ever have any question about how you can do stuff with Cypress, just visit the documentation. And also the error messages are really useful. I mean, you know the drill, sometimes they are not so, but with Cypress they are. Okay, really quickly now, just some potential pitfalls. If you install Cypress via npm, you can specify different versions, but there are some things between Cypress versions that you have to look out for. For example, with the newer Cypress versions, each test is in its own context and kind of starts a new browser with a fresh slate. But in older versions of Cypress, one test suite didn't reset the whole browser, so in between tests, it would keep the state of the browser. So you have to look out for that, for example, this is called test isolation. Yeah, different Cypress versions need different node versions, which you have to look out for when you're installing via npm. And also, via personal experience, it can be tricky to get Cypress to work with anything that is reCAPTCHA related. So you know, forms can use reCAPTCHA, Google reCAPTCHA, and my experience is it's not so easy to actually get Cypress to fill out a form with reCAPTCHA and then have it go through actually. So that's not that easy. And of course, you have to look out for cookie banners, for example, because they tend to obstruct the web page, and so Cypress has to click the cookie banners away before it can test other stuff. And like I showed you before, if you select something with Cypress, you have to look out for if you select one element that you can, for example, click, or if there are many elements, and then, for example, you can't click them, or be more specific, or use the first one of the selections, or something like that to make that, to fix that. Okay, yeah, really, really quickly again, testing, like others have said today, is always a good idea. Please, I hope I have inspired you to give Cypress a try, because it's an awesome tool, but I mean, I don't care. Use any other tool. Also, Cypress is cool. There are other really nice tools. Just pick one that works for you. And I'm convinced that good test leads to better code. Yeah, there are many other testing tools. If you stay in this room, Eric Peterson will talk about another one, CB Playwright. There's also an old one, Selenium, that is still around, a really, really old one, but even this is still around and you can use it. Here's the Cypress website, cypress.io, documentation, doccypress.io, and there are official Docker images on Docker Hub. Okay, thank you for listening, and thank you that you stayed with me even through the troubling times with the whole very, very strange display errors. I'm really glad that you stayed, and I hope you will give Cypress a try. Thank you for listening.